That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Frankenstein, the 13th film directed by Guillermo del Toro, which was in competition at the 2025 Venice Film Festival. Netflix released it in a limited capacity on October 17th. It is available to stream on their service as of November 7th, 2025.
Y'all know Guillermo del Toro.
Y'all know Guillermo, who won Venice previously with The Shape of Water.
And you saw this film back in August.
August, September. I mean, you know, do you want to talk about Del Toro's other fantastic films?
If you must.
I mean, we're both huge fans of his remake of Nightmare Alley.
Yes.
I also do love the original Nightmare Alley. Pinocchio was his last feature, Pacific Rim, the two Hellboy films, Blade 2, Mimic, and then his Spanish language features, which I don't know that he's actually beat those, but with Kronos, Devil's Backbone, and Pan's Labyrinth.
What is this Frankenstein about? A brilliant but egotistical scientist brings a creature to life in a monstrous experiment that ultimately leads to the undoing of both the creator and his tragic creation. What is your pull quote?
And let's not forget Crimson Peak. Although awash in sentiment, Guillermo del Toro's remount of Mary Shelley's classic Gothic text is arguably the most definitive cinematic version to date, despite its glossy, distended presentation.
Mine. Elordi's measured performance grounds the film, even as Isaac's over-the-top theatrics push this seemingly unnecessary Frankenstein adaptation dangerously close to camp.
I mean, the over-the-top, I agree about Oscar Isaac, but between his over-the-topness and Jacob Elordi's kind of maudlin, melancholic monster, they're very much giving the same dynamic as Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt in Interview with the Vampire.
Sure. So for people who don't know the story of Frankenstein, Frankenstein refers to the doctor who creates this monster. So Oscar Isaac plays Dr. Victor Frankenstein.
I haven't heard the name Victor spoken so many times since the film Smoke Signals. Victor!
So basically, the first half of the film is the doctor recounting the events that led to his ultimate demise. So the opening of the film is that a ship stuck in the Arctic finds Victor Frankenstein out on the ice injured. They bring him into safety.
And the captain, played by Lars Mikkelsen, brother of Mads,
he has to sit there and listen to Oscar Isaac explain to him what happened. So he basically says, when I was a kid, my dad was mean to me. He was a doctor. And
he was Charles Dance.
I was very close to my mom, but she died during childbirth with my younger brother. But I swore that one day I'd become a doctor and figure out how to
conquer death.
So he presents some of his findings, which basically amounts to him reanimating
corpses.
A corpse. And Christoph Waltz, this wealthy
Harlander,
this wealthy man who's making his money off of ammunitions, says that he'll be Oscar Isaac's Dr. Frankenstein's benefactor.
Yes, I will be your benefactress and ask no questions, and no cost is too high.
But of course, at a point, I'm going to ask for a favor. So thus begins Dr. Frankenstein's big project. So they get this tower and rehabilitate it with all the equipment Dr. Frankenstein needs. And ultimately, he is able to reanimate this corpse he's put together. And this corpse looks a lot like Jacob Elordi. So we see that the doctor realizes that what he's done is not great.
Jacob Elordi as a member of the People Under the Stairs.
I thought Jacob Elordi, when we first meet him as the creation, looks like a twink version of the engineers from Prometheus.
Yeah, I thought that too.
So he ends up destroying his creation, or so he thinks. He sets the tower on fire and thinks he's killed the monster.
Which is interesting because that's part of Mary Shelley's original title.
Right.
Prometheus.
So then that's like the halfway point. And then we cut to part 2 of the film, which is basically telling the same story, but from the creation's perspective.
Yep. The monster storms in and he's like, oh, he told his side of the story. I'm going to tell mine.
And so we hear the monster say that basically he was lost. And it's kind of giving like Pinocchio.
Yes, there's very much that element.
He finds this older blind man to kind of care for. They have a friendship.
Played by David Bradley.
And ultimately, that blind man encourages the creation, the monster, to try to remember his past. And it does lead him back to the tower where he was made, which has been destroyed, but there is evidence. And through the evidence that's there, the monster understands that he is like this abomination. Mm-hmm. So he wants vengeance, but it's more like he wants to find the doctor to get answers, but also because he wants a companion.
Well, he's also realized at this point that he cannot die.
And that he can't die. Mm-hmm. So he finds Dr. Frankenstein quite easily, and coincidentally on the night of his brother's wedding. And his brother William, so Dr. Frankenstein's brother William, who's now a rich like financier or something,
played by Felix Kammerer, who we just reviewed in the film Eden earlier this year,
is marrying Mia Goth.
Elizabeth, who is the niece of Christoph Waltz's character.
And on this night when the monster shows up, Dr. Frankenstein overreacts and accidentally shoots Mia Goth, so kills her. Mm-hmm. And the monster tells Frankenstein, "You owe me. I want you to make me a companion." The doctor says no. So he goes, "Fine, then I'm just going to haunt you for the rest of your life." So then we get back to the beginning of the film. So the final act is the creation on this ship in the Arctic.
In the captain's berth.
Basically saying, like, "I forgive you."
Yes, they come to an understanding. And Oscar Isaac, very dramatically, "Give me my name back."
And the doctor dies, and the monster leaves the boat. So the final shot is the monster staring into the sun.
Dislodging the boat, and notably this overzealous captain, based on witnessing this story, has decided to allow his men to return to their native country rather than continue on in a suicide run.
So I did read this novel like 35 years ago, and surprisingly, I remember a bit of it. And the main thing that kind of threw me off is the opening, because I recall the opening of the novel being quite creepy because it starts off the same. This ship in the Arctic that's stuck finds this doctor and he starts recounting a story, but they see that there's something in the distance, like there's this eerie figure, but we don't, you don't know what it is. But in this movie, straight away, we have Jacob Elordi pop up like, "Moo," and start screaming like,
"Surrender Dorothy," basically.
Yeah, he's talking and growling and screaming like, "Bring him to me," and he kills 6 of the ship members. And I'm assuming that was done for cinematic purposes, start off with a bang. I like Jacob Elordi in this role, so I'm not mad at it, but it was an odd start because then the next hour and some change is mainly focused on Oscar Isaac, who I really did not care for in this movie.
I think, Oscar Isaac is he is over the top.
Because what I remember from the novel is the doctor is a complicated character because he's arrogant, he's obsessed, but he's also grief-stricken. And
this, he's kind of a dick.
That's how I would describe him. He's just a dick, and he's fussy
But not unlike what Del Toro did with his Nightmare Alley remake is give us the psychological context of the characters, because what we come to find is that Oscar Isaac has created his child, his creature, his creation, the same way that his own father treated him. So it's kind of like a little nature versus nurture thing going on. It's like he's emulating how he was treated, being abused by this man. His child is a disappointment like he was to his father.
Which is another difference I think I recall from the novel, is that the doctor's upbringing wasn't like this. Mm-hmm. Like they weren't although even in this movie, I don't think the dad was that terrible. He's a surgeon and his son wants to be a surgeon. So he's like, "Well, if you're going to learn medicine, this is life or death. You need to do it correctly." And then the little kid is, he's a kid, so he's making mistakes. The dad seems annoyed. I think the biggest difference is how the dad treats the mom.
Yes, he's abusive. Mm-hmm.
And the mom, for this young man to grow up, to make it his life's work, to basically like avenge the death of his mother, I didn't get the sense they were that close. I actually thought that character felt very flat.
We don't get a lot of her, which is kind of curious. Yeah.
I'm just going to start going through my notes. I thought it was funny when we first meet in the beginning when the monster attacks the ship. They're able to kind of fend the monster off a little bit and it sinks into the water.
Get the blunderbuss!
And I thought it was funny that the monster can't swim.
Well,
Okay. So they they see that there's a fire in the distance on the ice, these men on this ship. So they go to help and they see that there's a man badly injured, but they know that something's not quite right because the dogs haven't been harmed. Mm-hmm. So it's like, well, whatever attacked this man would have also attacked the dogs, but it didn't. And there's a lot of blood, but this man doesn't appear to be super injured. So they're confused. They bring him on the boat, and that's when the monster attacks everyone, kills 6 people. They're able to get the monster off the boat, sinks under the frozen ice. And then Oscar Isaac starts telling his story. And I thought immediately I would have thrown his ass off my boat. You just saw a monster
that you've already realized you cannot kill.
And who has killed 6 of your men and has literally spoken English and said, bring him to me. Baby, I would have thrown his ass off that boat so fast.
Yeah, bye.
But instead I thought, gosh, imagine having witnessed that as the captain of this ship. And now you're stuck in this room listening to Oscar Isaac tell his life story.
I mean, they are stuck on the ice, so what else is he going to do with this captain? Also, I find it interesting, one of the members of the men on the boat is Nikolai Lee Kaas, who's quite a notable Danish actor, and he's really got nothing to do.
I like Christoph Waltz.
I do too. He's hamming it up, though.
He's very hammy in this, but I don't mind him being hammy. I think combined with Oscar Isaacs, it was really too much. But I did like Christoph Waltz. And when we first meet him, he comes into like a lecture Dr. Frankenstein is giving, trying to show that he can bring people back to life. And then he says, I have unlimited resources. I can help you pursue this research. And of course, in the end, I want something in return. But we see that he's getting impatient.
Yeah, he starts putting deadlines on him.
Well, then he goes, my fortune is incumbent on like wartime, and the war is wrapping up. So you need to figure this shit out. Thankfully, I had a little birdie told me there's going to be another battle nearby. So once that battle's over in a week, we can go scavenge for bodies. So they do. And they get bodies so that the doctor can finish his work. But it's also then that we realize what Christoph Waltz wants, which is that he has syphilis.
And what is it, stage 3?
I think he's getting to stage 3 where like it's going to get to his brain. So he's like, you need to bring me back to life.
And Oscar, that is where he makes the most sense. He's like, sir, your whole body is diseased.
Is riddled with disease.
I'm not using one part of that.
No. So Christoph Waltz ends up dying because they're tussling and he falls down a big chute. So then that's a precarious situation because his niece, Mia Goth, said, what are we going to tell her? She's marrying my brother. So they have to cover that up. But Dr. Frankenstein's able to smooth it over because he basically convinces his brother that the monster killed Christoph Waltz.
Also, Victor was trying to romance Elizabeth on the DL.
Which is different from the book. Mm-hmm. And I also feel like was another cinematic choice. Like we got to amp it up. And
that's been kind of done before, right? Because the Kenneth Branagh version, which is terrible from 1994.
Well, all the cinematic versions, like the whole like bringing the monster back to life with the all the things. That's not part of the book.
No, and you haven't seen the James Whale original, which I think if I were to tell somebody what versions to watch, I would probably be this version and the James Whale and maybe Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein.
But just continuing through my notes, we find out that the key to reanimating this corpse is to put the battery above the lymphatic system, like whatever that means. And I did think a funny line from Christoph Waltz when he reveals he has syphilis is he goes, one night with Venus, a lifetime of Mercury, because they used to treat syphilis with mercury. Mm-hmm. Okay,
more poison.
The way Oscar Isaacs is saying Elizabeth made me think of The Room.
Tommy Wiseau.
Like, what about Elizabeth, huh?
I didn't hit her. I didn't.
I liked Mia Goth in this.
I did too.
Her character is quite clever. I will say, though, because her hair is up when we first meet her. But when she takes her hair down, that wig was ridiculous. Her hair is like scratching the floor.
Well, you've seen several. Well, there are actually films about the night that Mary Shelley came up with the idea for Frankenstein. We have that
was a Kenneth Branagh.
That was a Ken Russell film, Gothic.
Ken Russell, that's right.
Ivan Passer also has a version of that called Haunted Summer with Alice Krieg. I like that there are a lot of shout outs to not only Mary Shelley in her time, but her husband, Percy Bysshe Shelley, because we actually have Jacob Elordi reciting Ozymandias. And of course, Lord Byron, it ends with I thought, a very fitting Lord Byron quote.
My expectation of this being a Guillermo del Toro film was that the visuals would be sumptuous and that something very different would be brought to the table. And I have to say, I wasn't that impressed with the visuals. First off, a lot of the CGI I thought was a little crunchy. Like the whole fire sequence in the tower when the doctor tries to kill Frankenstein, I thought that looked kind of crazy.
I think there's some wolves killing some sheep at one point.
Well, there are two scenes with wolves. The first one killing the sheep, I thought that looked, considering the budget, I thought it looked a little cheap.
I agree.
And then the second time we meet the wolves, they're attacking the monster. I didn't think that looked great. I also understand that the ship was like an actual set, but I thought the ship on the ice also looked a little fake to me.
But I think a lot of that's forgivable because there's I don't know, at several, I wasn't expecting to get kind of teary. I mean, I've seen it twice. I think it works better on the big screen, which is...
I also got teary too, but it still looked a little crunchy in spots.
But I think it's better served on the big screen, even though it's a little long. I don't know. It just feels like such a disservice to watch this on Netflix, but and that's because I've seen it on the big screen. But the scene with the blind man and his relationship with the creature, I thought were very well done. I wasn't expecting to feel that way.
Well, I think the best parts of the film are the monster. Jacob Elordi is the monster. I think him with Mia Goth and him with the old man. And I thought, a different approach could have been making it kind of like Frankenstein mixed with Bride of Frankenstein, like focus more on this creation, trying to find a companion, like switch it up.
Yeah. I did a kind of a large paper on Frankenstein films as an undergrad. I think it was called Not a Woman Born, which is, of course, a Macbeth quote. But there are so many great, like, I think I really wanted to write about the movie May by Lucky McKee. But if you've never seen the film The Bride, not the new Maggie Gyllenhaal, the one with Sting and Jennifer Beals, I'm not going to say that's a great film, but there's so much and so many ways that this could go, and this is clearly not a straight adaptation. So I think it's interesting that a lot of it does feel kind of standard, though.
Yeah. So the way the monster befriends the old blind man is at first he's doing acts of service for like this old man and his family.
The spirit of the forest.
So they think it's like the spirit of the forest. But then one day the family leaves the old man behind.
For the season,
which I thought was kind of funny. Like, but that's when the monster sort of reveals himself.
And that man can tell that there's something there watching him.
Yeah. And I thought that was a highlight of the film. I don't recall in the book. I know that the monster starts educating himself by reading books, but in this film he's reading the Bible, and I don't remember that.
Well, in Paradise Lost, Milton, which I believe is in the book.
On the wedding night when Oscar Isaac shoots Mia Goth, and then everyone runs in and he's like, well, the monster did it.
And everybody's like, what?
And of course the monster beats everyone up and carries Mia Goth out. But when he picks her up, she says to him, take me with you. And I was like, bitch, you need to tell everyone Oscar did it. Oscar shot me.
Yes. Victor.
Can you conjure up the breath to say that?
Victor did this to me. Her romance, I mean, the sexual tension with her and Elordi is, I think, kind of perverse and funny, but it was kind of, remember, like Winona Ryder and Johnny Depp and Edward Scissorhands, kind of, that's what it felt like.
Well, especially because as the monster ages, like as we go through the story, he starts to look a little crazy because he's a little dusty and his hair is getting longer, and I think his teeth are changing. When we first see him, he is kind of attractive, which I think is funny because at a point, Oscar Isaac is sort of making fun of Mia Goth, like you're acting like he's actually something that's attractive. And it's like, well...
He's a pure man.
He kind of is. In the end, when we're back on the ice, Oscar Isaac tries to kill the monster with a stick of dynamite. And the monster says, hey, if this will work, give it to me. Light it. Light the shit. The dynamite goes off, and I did think that looked cool. But then the dynamite didn't
Didn't do shit.
I mean, is he made out of adamantium?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't recall dynamite in the book.
God, if that didn't do it, I don't know.
My final thought was, after it's all said and done and the monster gets off the ship, he helps move the boat, like get it unstuck. But did you notice he let their ladder fall?
I noticed the ladder because I was like, yeah, none of y'all are going to grab that ladder. You're going to have a hard time.
I know.
But, if they return to, is the ship Norwegian? If they return to port, I'm sure there are plenty of ladders in their country. I will say I did not like the score. Another fail from Alexander Desplat, who has been increasingly disappointing considering his pedigree. But I thought at times it was trying to be like Danny Elfman, Tim Burton-ish, and then at other times it's like sweeping and romantic in a way that I didn't think really fit. Yeah, I did not like the score.
I think you may have liked this more than I did. What would you give Frankenstein?
3.
I don't know that I needed this, but I do enjoy Jacob Elordi in it for like half the film. So I would give it 2.5 out of 5. Join us on Patreon and listen to our podcast. Bye.